but this was from last summer, and I'm updating it. It's on the schedule for sometime this year for this club here, because I've done part one in the past, and this is part two of the International Stamp Show material. And what I'm going to do is just do a very quick run through of the whole year's in about 5-10 minutes. Any questions, and then we'll move on. Again, this is from summer session last year, so I'm going to jump to page 11, okay? And when we're just talking about ephemera with our stamp shows, these are international shows that started for the United States in 1913, but they had been taking place in Europe earlier, and they're still going on. Our next one's going to be in Boston in 2026. So we want to get ready for that. But some of the things that we look at, and when we look at the definition of ephemera, it really means temporary, short lifespan, things that are made to be thrown out, as are our stamps and covers. You know, that we keep them is what keeps it alive. But if you look at the list here, I assume you can see them, these are all things that are related to stamp shows. And I got into this through my Stamp on Stamps, you know, which just, you know, like Al was saying, he started with gunboats, and now he has several areas of the Navy and the Marines in China. And so I have a lot of philatelic and stamp show related areas that I collect, and international stamp shows is one of them. And I really gained a philatelic godfather about 2 years ago. I presented the first one at New York 216, and Steve Rod, about a year and a half ago, finally got to see it. And he emailed me, he said, I have some doubles of a lot of materials. Would you like some? You know, said the spider to fly. So many of the materials that I have in these presentations and the one to come when I do part three through the 2016 show, many are from Steve, and I'm always grateful. I like to give.
And you know, Steve is on this evening, so we should.
You don't have to
just
say they're from Steve anymore. They're from you.
There you go, Stephen. I knew you were on, Stephen.
He joined. He said he might. Glad to see you, Steve. And so.
Well, they're not from me. They're yours.
What's that?
They're not from me anymore. They're yours.
Yeah, I know. That's great. But what I'm going to do is just go through the 10 years very quickly, one slide on each, just show you an example of some of these things. And then if there's any questions, we'll take them and then move on. But the stamps for my first, Cinderellas, then covers, advertising, just great stuff. Starting 1913, these are the prospectuses that go out on the left, and the man inside. If you remember, Steve Rod talked about Murray Bartels. His picture is in here as one of the founders of the show, because nobody thought we could get up to the Europeans. And when it was over, they said we did a very good job, and we're very pleased. So these are some very interesting documents of the show and how it came together. And also that goes with it, there's a show guide too, which lists the exhibits and things, but that's for a different presentation. So we move to 26. The big ones that everybody realizes are our white plain sheets. And you can see one there. I've thrown a couple in the door prizes and things, and they've gone out to members, but there's a banquet from the international show with a real stamp on them. And as easy as we can find these 2-cent red stamps in general, of all the maybe 8 or 10 of them, these are really hard to find. And where the others are worth 2 cents, these are worth a lot more. And I'm not sure why. I have to check the numbers. But this
I think it's important to say that most people don't realize there was a show in 1913 because there was no postage stamp or souvenir sheet. The white plain sheet issued at the second IPEX is the first souvenir sheet. And it takes people a while to learn that about the U.S. Army.
Yeah. What do they say? A short learning curve. And didn't they try to print some of these at the show?
They printed them with plate number 18772. There's the actual 4 numbers that they did print in Washington was 70, 71, 73, and 74. And they printed over 100 sheets of 4 panes at the show with 18772. And for about 5 years, from 26 to 31, the Philatelic Press was alive with people saying they found one 18772. But we know to this day that the destruction was perfect. They had perfect destruction of every sheet of 772.
Wouldn't that be nice to have one that they actually printed at the show? Because they have one of these fly spider presses, flat plates at the Postal Museum. And when you're there, if they're working at it, you can get a free sample, not of this, but of a nicely engraved piece. Thank you for Steve. And again, please cut in anywhere along the way. So we move up to 1936. Here's a variety of shows. Here's this, one of the really nice Cinderellas in 4 colors that they came out, a souvenir sheet and a cover signed by the 3rd Assistant Postmaster General. So you have mail as ephemera. This is one of the labels or logos of the show, the 3rd International. A postcard showing the building where it was taken care of, and the politics that went into showing the buildings. Really great stuff. Invitation for the opening ceremonies. Again, great philatelic material. In 47, now there we have Dave, and he's here tonight. And Dave, can you hear me? He was here. Dave, this is one of the they didn't I don't know if they gave medals, but they gave plates, and the color around the plate determined what level it was and what it was for, or what category and so forth. And Dave was able to pick one up, I think in a Berks area yard sale or antique shop, and with materials and stuff about the guy who was in it, and he's talked to us about it, and just really neat to see. And here's a cover that was made with the 4 different seals and the stamp from the show in 1947. Again, these are just simple ideas to show you what came up. The seal again, and then one of the official covers from the show, the airmail. I think that was one of the first airmail indica on there. Okay, we're moving up to 56. Here's a lounge ribbon. So people who they collect the ribbons from people who won awards. The Cinderellas, these came out in several different colors. You could buy them by the sheet. This is Ephemera. This is a series in American Stamp Dealer and Collector, now known as American Stamp Collector and Dealer. And these issues in 2015 into 16, one each month on the different shows starting in 2013, authored by Steve Rod here, and there's Steve right there. Steve, I think you actually look better in person tonight than a few years ago, so that's great.
Glad we'll get you everywhere, Paul.
But again, lots of ephemera for that the IPEX show. In Washington, D.C., this was the jury. Again, a piece of ephemera. The plate block of one of the stamps and the souvenir sheet. A good friend of mine sent me a box of about 500 of these that I have. I'm trying to think what to do with them. He knew what to do with them, but now it's my issue to work with, but we'll have some of those for door prizes. In 76, you have the newspaper clippings and information. It was the first to post the handout of the philatelic passports. They've had them ever since. We picked some up in New York in 2016, and this is what Charlie and I brought to one of the meetings at the North Museum, and they modeled it after the 2016 one, where the kids are using them, and it's been very popular. There's a seal. Everything is the official cover. This was put out by, I think it was Sweden, one of their souvenirs. You go to Stamp Show, it's souvenir from beginning to end. I spend a lot of my time just at the post office having a lot of my covers serviced with cancels and things. It's just a lot of fun, especially if you don't have a lot of money to spend. 1986, you can see here that we have some tickets. And Steve, you might give me a little, I think a lot of them have prices on them, but nobody ever charged, right?
The whole idea was to make it seem like it was $20 for the whole show or $2 for the day.
Yeah.
They actually took in about $500 in the 10 or 12 days. Only $500 worth of $20 tickets and $2 tickets, because they really were discouraging cash paying to get in.
Yeah.
It was a promotion, but they wound up making about $500 cash.
Great. Yeah.
It was also good in case there was a problem with people who you didn't want to come in to the show, which has never happened in any of these shows. But show committees every 10 years worry about what if people come in who don't belong here. because we're not charging admissions. So that's another reason you have the tickets,
Okay.
so that you could say, do you have your ticket, please?
Yeah. And if you bought this booklet of stamps, the international show in Chicago will admit the bearer of this booklet free of charge. So even the post office participated. And Steve, this was one you actually had serviced, right, at the show?
That's one of 3 covers exactly like that.
Yeah.
With a white plain. You know that 629, Scott 629 is the white plain stamp. Scott 630 is the white plain stamp from the souvenir sheet. The problem is you've got to learn that both stamps are perforated 11. So you see here a single from the souvenir sheet because it has the margin inscription York. You know it's from the souvenir sheet. If you don't have an inscription attached, you have to assume it's the 629. But the most interesting part of it is that the Scott Specialized Catalog, the Bible, does not list 630A, a single from the souvenir sheet. And when you ask the editors why, it's because a stamp can't have its identification because of the margin attachment. They only want the stamp to be identified as the number, the perforations and the on the stamp. So you showed the 778 stamp sheet, the souvenir sheet from 1936 with the 4 stamps on it. Those have A, B, C, and D, because you can cut each stamp off and make it 778A, 778B, C, and D. If you really want trivia, and then I'll shut up, go look at your Scott catalog. It goes from 778 to 781. There was no 779, 80, 779, 80, or 81 in the catalog because originally Scott numbered each of the 4 stamps on the imperf sheet as its own stamp. And then they changed their mind and said they're all A, B, C, and D from the purple sheet. So that's another piece of IPEX trivia.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Done. Okay, 79. This is a great kind of an announcement invitation. And when you open up to a first day cover, I mean, the first day of issue. And when you open it up, this is the way it appears, like any other program. And that's gotten very creative with, again, the Pacific logo up here in 97. In 2006, we move on, they had that wonderful souvenir sheet. It's a great thing. This is from the dinner, the poster that went with it, but that souvenir sheet. And I think through Dave Silcox, I got these 3 different covers. And then the opening ceremony booklet. And this is from Deutsche Post, their stamp and cancel for the show. Again, you could get a lot of these at the different postal administrations during the show in the vendor's bourse. Last one, 2016. And this is from our Lancaster cover that we put together for our show in April. And then a piece of ephemera for Steve, who is major domo in this event. And that's where I end. So this has been an overview of the shows. And then later this year or early next year, when we have an opening, I'll go into the detail of the 4 shows in the middle from 50, 60, 70, and 80. And we'll have that to look forward to. Questions on these? How many of you got to go to any of these shows? I know we had a couple bus loads. Yeah, really. It was a lot of fun. It was a very busy day from up at 5 in the morning till, home at 1 or 2 in the morning, but it was worth it. Loved every bit. Okay, I'll stop sharing.